It's time to check out the strongest Celestial and the Penterror Wind starter deck. Let's take a look. All right, here it is in all its glory, Penterror, which rocks 15 attack, the highest attack stat in the game. And I'm very excited about this deck. I think this deck is a really good one for newer players to pick up. It's very easy to get Penterror onto the field, and it can deal a lot of damage to the opponent's spirit deck. From howling gales and darkening skies, a tempest emerges. Soar into the heart of the storm on the triumphant wings of Exaltair, Twindra, and Glidesdale, and blow away your rivals with the Penterror starter deck. Who will throw caution to the wind and fly to new heights with Aeolus, ruler of the stratosphere? Now, wind was probably my favorite element when I was developing Elestrals initially, and that's because of Stratamoth. And if you were someone who picked up their prototype decks, Stratamoth was the prototype wind deck. But we swapped it to Penterror because Penterror is kind of like one of the, I guess, faces of Elestrals initially, being the box topper and being on a lot of our packaging and art and stuff. So I thought it was good to kind of give access to one of the strongest cards, like I said, the highest attack card in the game, to do players and stuff. So let's take a look. We're gonna break this thing down, and if you haven't checked out our other starter deck openings, I'll have them in the description. You guys can check them out. This is actually the final one we're posting, so highly recommend you guys check all those out, and I'll be filming some kind of update videos on that as we go. So we've got a really high quality box, and you already know we've got kind of the inside printing there. Here is our D20 wind die, which I really like. It's got kind of two different shades of blue. I think it's beautiful. It's kind of like grayish blue, which I quite like, and of course you got the wind symbol on top. Every starter deck is gonna come with your how to play guide. So this one particularly nice because it does have Penterror on it. So check out your how to play guide, of course. And then last but certainly not least is the deck itself, right? Which features the holographic Penterror, and potentially under it would be Stellar Hydrake. Only 99 copies of that Stellar Hydrake are going to exist in the world, so that's gonna be pretty hype. So we'll open this up and we'll check out the deck and break it all down. By the way, for those who are interested in the Stellar Hydrake, this is a prototype version of it, but it's pretty sick. Okay, so here we have it, Penterror in all its glory. 15 attack, 8 defense. The prototypes of this actually only had 13 attack, but I decided to buff it up. And when it's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, not by battle, it's very hard to destroy this by battle anyway, you can actually special cast any number of Hydrake and Twindra to your field in attack position. So basically what happens if this thing goes down, it kind of functions like Hydras do, right? When you cut the head off the Hydra to grow back. So in this case, you cut off Penterror, you destroy it, you can actually get more to the field. So let's take a look. I'll separate kind of the spirits from the main deck, and I'll break down the entire deck right now for you guys so you know exactly what it's all about. But Penterror is your main kind of source of just dealing lots of damage. No Stellar for me today. And then you're gonna have your Hydrake. Hydrake's a 4 attack 1. Basically, when it's destroyed in battle, you can special cast out the Twindra from your deck, and then you've got your Twindra, right? So Twindra is only a 5/4, so it's pretty weak, but same thing. When it gets destroyed in battle, you can special cast out the Penterror. So a lot of strategy with the Hydrake deck is very simple. Let's say my opponent has a Galaxy on the field, right? A 5 attack after its effect is activated, or a Sorlet, anything like that, right? A 5 attack Elestral. I take my Hydrake, I run into it, I die, I get Twindra out, I run into the Sorlet, I die, I get Penterror out. Very quickly, you can get your Penterror out pretty much instantly by just crashing into your opponent. But you could also play a little bit more defensively by just playing Hydrake onto the field and saying, hey, if you want to attack this, by all means, go for it. I can easily get my Penterror out. Now, these 5, cards here, your Hydrake and your Twindra, are very susceptible to things like Earthquake and Shield of Achilles and Poison Tipped Arrow and a lot of the counter runes and removal stuff. But if you can find the right opportunity to crash into your opponent, you can deal a lot of damage. I would say that a card to look at for these is maybe like a Helios Chariot Ride to make sure you can get that strategy off without an issue. Arrowmare is actually your highest stat 1-drop in the game, 4 and 5. There's actually no other Elestral card that gets higher than 9 total points as a 1-drop. Really unique card where if you ascend from the Arrowmare into something else, the Arrowmare can actually become an artifact that empowers the Ascension, and it says that it can't be targeted or destroyed by opponent's Elestral effects. So you effectively knock out the Boombat equation. Now, it is important to note that Arrowmare has to be enchanted for that effect to be taking place, but it really pairs nicely with Glidesdale. You can actually expend a wind in order to give this Glidesdale +5 attack until the end phase. So you just expend 1, it goes to 12 attack, very hard hitter. And if Glidesdale is empowered by Arrowmare, it gets to attack twice. So if you ascend Arrowmare into Glidesdale, you get the benefit of Arrowmare's second effect of becoming an artifact, which means it can't be targeted by Elestral effects, and it can attack twice, and it can go to 12 attack. I actually think Glidesdale is a card that has some viability in specific decks. P-Gust, really cool. You just cast it when it gets a wind spirit. You just get to choose and destroy a rune. Very good rune removal, probably one of the best. Exaltair, you can Nexus up to 2 wind. When you do, your opponent has to expend 2 spirits. So you're just dealing 2 direct damage by moving spirits on the field. Very nice to use with Aeolus, of course. You've got Sorlet, which is one of the best 1-drops in the game. It's a 5 attack. You can expend a wind to change the position of a non-wind enchanted Elestral. So anything that's not wind, you can switch them from attack to defense or vice versa, which allows Sorlet to really beat a lot of things in the game. aDrive, one of the best drops. You already know about it. 5 defense, can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand. Boombat for some removal, so a little bit of thunder. And then you actually get Elechick in this deck, which is really cool. Elechick is your divine rune searcher, so when you cast out your Elechick, you can search your deck for a divine rune and add it to your hand. So this is a very important card because this deck relies so heavily on Aeolus and getting Hydrake out. Veritaqua gives you a little bit of defensive destruction, so if there's a big wall in your face, you can just run into them. And then you've got your draw power, Nectar of the Gods. You got a couple Ambrosias, very important for this deck because you need the spirit recovery. Resting on Your Laurels is a starter deck exclusive card in this deck. This is one of the cards that I would highly recommend trying to pick up. You get 2 copies in this deck. This is basically Earthquake Light. So if your opponent has 2 more enchanting spirits than you do, then you can play this card, and then you can actually target and destroy an Elestral that has the least number of enchanting spirits. So if your opponent has 2 1-cost Elestrals in the field and you have nothing, then you could just play Resting on Your Laurels and just pop one of them. But it is a little counterproductive in this deck in the sense that, like, once you play Aeolus, oftentimes you'll have those spirits on field. But still, the cheapest form of removal in the game is Resting on Your Laurels. It's just a little situational. Circle the Sky gives some draw power when you Nexus. And then Aeolus, the king of the winds here. This is the only divine rune that can enchant up to 4 spirits to it. All the other ones allow for up to 3 spirits. The reason why is very simply lore based. The Bag of Winds are derived from the 4 cardinal direction winds, and Aeolus holds the Bag of Winds. So I thought it was fun to allow him to get up to 4. You have to disenchant 2 from it to search your deck for any wind Elestral. So it's probably the best search in the game in terms of searching for wind, or just in general, because you could play it and search out any one of your wind Elestrals. Generally, that would be Hydrake, though. But there are some instances where you want to search out like a P-Gust or an Exaltair. And then you can use the remaining spirits on Aeolus to Nexus around with Exaltair, or, you know, just kind of fuel different things. You've got Island of Olia, just gives you your standard kind of boost like most stadiums do. And then Bag of Winds is a unique artifact. So basically the way this works is you get +2 defense. You actually don't get an attack buff from Bag of Winds, but you can't be targeted by opponent's runes. Aeolus is enchanted and you destroy something in battle, you actually get to target and destroy a rune yourself. So this could really form some good rune removal, and it provides you with a good amount of protection against runes that target. The only downside to that is, you know, things that can target, or things that don't target, like Shield of Achilles, are still a problem. And you have to worry about things like Poison Tipped Arrow on cast, so you can't really avoid that. You do avoid things like Earthquake and stuff, though, which is pretty nice, but it's a little tricky to use. But nonetheless, pretty cool artifact. Then you've got Tornado, which can just bounce a rune back to the hand at a 1 cost, which is really nice. And you've got Thunderstorm as a way to target and destroy runes. So lots of rune removal in this deck between your P-Gust, your Tornado, your Thunderstorm. You've got your Resting on Your Laurels to help with the Elestral control. And then you've just got 2 Tsunamis as your counters. So not a lot of counterplay in this deck. 2 Tsunamis. This is just going to kind of slow your opponent down, put him in defense position, which might give you an opportunity to use your Veritaqua to kind of pick them off. In terms of our spirit breakdown, this deck is pretty straightforward. You've got your Lycoris, bunch of Lycoris, a lot of wind spirits. And then you've got a couple Thunder Spirits here to rock that Thunderstorm and your Astrabits. And then a little bit of water to work with Veritaqua and Tsunami. And don't forget your little tip card to keep you up to date, or, you know, when you're learning the game, this is a helpful little cheat sheet to have with you. Again, the core strategy with this deck really does revolve around getting Hydrake to the field as fast as possible to get Penterror out early game where you can still take advantage of its effect. This deck is big all or nothing. You're going to use a lot of spirits early in the game to gain board position and try to run your opponent over before they're able to react. If you're not able to do that, you'll probably find yourself in a tough spot, as Wind doesn't really have any regeneration on its own outside of Cryzor and the typical Ambrosia strategy, so it can be a little bit difficult to come back if you get behind and you can't get out your strong Elestrals. But I do think that there is a place in the metagame for Penterror. I think it has some usefulness if you can strategically play around some of the challenges of all the removal and all the counter runes in Elestrals right now. So that's your Penterror starter deck. I think this is a super cool deck, and I hope you guys are excited about it. This was actually the most popular of the starter decks from Kickstarter, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Be sure to like the video if you did, and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new so you don't miss out on our epic Elestrals content. Thanks for watching.